Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, June 18th, 2020. It's that time of day again. Time to take a break with Drake. Weekday, 7 a.m. He is tough. He is... Wow. Look at all those muscles. Stand down, enemy. Drake is on the warpath. It's America's Bible teacher, Dr. Drake Travis. Got some red hot church news today.
Here we are on a June. The monitor's not on, so I can't. Are you here? Right? Are you right here, dear?
No, I'm not there. So let me fix the things that need to be there.
Well, we've got to duct tape some things together while we're rolling here versus starting late. Yes, good morning to you, good day to you, and to those of you in the Eastern Hemisphere, good afternoon to you. June 18th? Is it June 18th today?
It really is June 18th.
It's June 18th. We're well into the half of June, and winter, summer solstice is Friday. In the West Coast time zone of the USA, summer solstice is
There's your monitor.
5:44 p.m. It's the first day of summer.
Did you see that? 5:44 p.m. Hey, Mikey Yates.
We're at the Mikey Yates. Mike, I'm telling you, they need you all over the country here, Mike.
And and Aaron Wicklund, don't shoot, I'm only the piano player.
I remember when Elton John said that. I was in junior high. I don't know what that was about. But anyhow, Mike Yates, our favorite man in uniform. Yes.
We have more than, come on.
Well,
I mean, Mike is one of our favorites.
He's the top of the food chain. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he is without a doubt.
Yes, I am. I was ordained as a pastor in 1994. So that'd be 26 years ago. I really felt a call in a ministry when I was 15. I knew something was coming. I wasn't done being a dingleberry at 15. I still had more. I had about 4 more years of just drifting. I just wanted to walk through the woods and swim down the rivers and climb the trees and jump off of cliffs and go swimming and biking and skiing and diving and such. And I'm having a whole lot more fun doing a lot of that now since ministry, because I do it in Guatemala. I do it in the South China Sea. I do it in the caves underneath of Bermuda. So I thought, well, once I get into ministry, then it's just all...
What, Drake, you don't wake up and do a Gregorian chant?
Yeah.
Good morning, Elisa.
So, Elisa, good morning to you folks. So, anyhow, I got called to ministry at 15. I first got called to follow Jesus when I was 5. This was 1967. July 7th, 1967.
Aaron, LOL, get back, Honky Cat. I mean to tell you, someone's feeling really frisky this morning.
He just told us to get back, Honky Cat. I was like, oh my word.
I'm realizing I left the door open. We're just totally out of sorts here.
Yeah. I'm addicted to good news. I love good news. My life is spreading the good news. And I want to tell you some red hot good news stuff I have just found out. I guess I had hints of it, but in the last 24 hours, it's really been brought to my attention. The fantastic good news amid all the bad news. Would you like to hear bad news? Oh, good grief.
I like to hear the good news.
There's 300 channels that'll tell you bad news.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you some good news. And again, I'm a pastor. I've been to pastors' conferences more than I can count or recall. And pastors get together, and, for over 30 years now, the position of clergy is the most highly educated, underpaid occupation. That's why people are
used
bailing.
To be that way for surgeons.
Are bailing on
back
them,
years and years ago. But maybe wait 100 years or 200 years.
So refined, but anyhow, they're the most educated, underpaid. They are educated as an attorney, and they are paid as if they were the man who scrub the church, just was maintaining clean. A janitor. I don't need to put janitors down because without them, just about every business would be shut down within a month because you couldn't.
We
even
like
function.
people who
So
clean.
I don't want to put people down.
We love them.
Yeah. So pastors are paid on average like janitors, and they're educated as attorneys, and they're as busy and full-time as doctors. And people, I remember my dad once getting paid. And my brother told me the story. He told it to me so clear, it seemed like I was there. But I remember my brother, who's a pastor, he was a toddler, and my dad got his check for the week, and the church treasurer, was such a rascal. He, just shy of putting the check in his hand, he dropped it and made my dad bend down and pick it up in front of his feet. And the check wasn't all that much. Anyhow, again, I was.
Well, that wasn't very nice.
I was about 28 inches tall at the time, so I don't know the story myself, but I was just told this. And pastors got a rough route to them. So they get to conferences, and they don't always just go, I'm really hurting, really struggling. They'll put up hey, I'm walking in victory, I'm trusting the Lord, but the feelings on the inside are much different. The exasperation, the payback, the strokes on the hey, good job,
The attaboy.
Yeah, the attaboys can run thin for pastors, and pray for your pastor. And
that's nice. I think that's a great idea.
Him.
Yeah. Support your
him.
pastor.
Encourage him. You know what pastors would like? They'd like to have a string of the guys in their church knocking on their door and saying, "Hey, pastor, I got the afternoon off. I have the afternoon off. Can I help you? What do you need today?" Or a call, "Hey, pastor, listen, I just, we got extra stuff. Can I give you a dozen extra, eggs or bread or whatever?" Pastors would love encouragement like that because...
Actually, that's what Graham Dale's doing. Except he's the one who's delivering the food.
Yeah, he is right now, our good friend in Oxford. And we're going to have him on this fall again to get an update. And a lot more updates coming from the other hemisphere. So these pastors are at this conference, and a very dear friend of mine was there, and he told me the whole story, and I'm going to relate it to you. These pastors are in a circle, and they were from all over. Pastors from Seattle and Los Angeles and Denver and New Mexico, the Great Plains. Pastors were there from Alaska and the Pacific Rim. Pastors from the Philippines. A pastor from China.
Where are we talking about again?
What?
Where did they gather?
I think this gathering was on the West Coast, USA.
Oh, okay.
And
time frame or it was
recent years.
Recent years.
It wasn't the 1800s, but it wasn't last weekend.
Okay, so there was a gathering of pastors somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it was in Washington State, where we're filming from right now.
Okay.
So these pastors are circled up, and they're just sharing. Well, what do you need? What are you praying for? What do you want? And this guy, the one that I knew, he had a church of about 3,000 people. So he wasn't a struggling pastor. Things were there's difficulties. There's always difficulties. Difficulties that make you want to quit. They're so thick. And there's always encouragement to keep you going. So I always ask pastors, by the way, getting right back to Seattle, what keeps you going? What makes you go, man, I love this? And what's happening in your ministry when you think, God, can you let me out of here? Good grief. Just put me in a dinghy and send me out to sea. What keeps you going? What makes you want to quit? I always ask that. And you'll notice that as I'm interviewing pastors in the future. That's a thing I like them to divulge. So this pastor had a church of about 1,000. And I said, well, how's your church? Well, we're at this and that. I'm so glad my church gave me a raise. One pastor, he said, yeah, my church gave me a raise, and I'm making over $200,000 a year now. I thought, well, hallelujah. You're not on rice and beans and food stamps. Another pastor, how you doing? Man, we had 75 come to Christ this month, and that's the encouraging thing to me. And so this guy's thinking, well, when they get around to me, I'm gonna be glad to tell them I run about 3,000 on a Sunday. He's just feeling good, encouraging himself, and there's better ways to do that. But they come to this Chinese pastor, and he told his story of how he does ministry. He is watched by the Communist Party as if he is a dying gazelle and there's vultures around him.
Goodness.
He is watched.
Ominous.
Yeah. And he has a cell phone. And to hide the fact that he's a pastor, he works in the rice fields. He's up to his knees in water and mud, just walking through the rice fields, planting or managing, however that's all done. I've seen it done, but I don't know what all the systems are. He says, well, what do you do? He says, well, I can see the road way up there, and when the communist supervisors are come to check on me to make sure I'm not discipling anybody, or praying with anybody, or reading the Bible to anybody, or healing anybody, or encouraging, or doing any pastor, to make sure I'm not doing any of this, they come and check on me. And I can always see, because the road comes winding, and I can see them meandering down through the canyon. And when I first see a vehicle with the dust cloud behind it, I know I've got about 8 minutes to put my Bibles away, to do everything I'm going to do. So I just look like a rice farmer. So I have my cell phone on, and I call my 3 top guys. He says, I call them my Peter, James, and John.
Yeah.
So I call Peter, James, and John. And when I see the truck coming, I okay, I got about 8 minutes. The guys, listen, I got 3 more minutes, 4 minutes, I hang up, and I blah, 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 blah. Kind of exciting. And pastoring can feel like you're playing capture the flag or freeze tag at summer camp.
Yeah, I would imagine over there, sure.
Gets kind of. He says, "Whoa, we Americans, we go. Well, don't you feel threatened?" He says, "Oh, it's exciting. It's exciting." So I see the guys coming. I finish up with Peter, James, and John. I put my cell phone away. Well, actually, I go and hide it under a big leaf in a little teeny. They never find it. And how's it going? Oh, yes, the rice, the progress, good. How you? Praying for you guys. Don't say that to us.
Oh, brother.
Little spacky dude. He says, so what happens? So you're discipling Peter, James, John. He says, well, Peter, James, and John, they each go out and they disciple. They take what I've learned and they disciple. They each have 12. So that's 36. And each of those 36 have a congregation and a class that they teach. And that's it. Times did it. Like, he goes, oh, how intricate is this thing? He says, oh, we're Chinese. We like management and stuff like that. So he said, well, the 100, they each have a class. Each of those schools, they each have a Peter, James, and dent. He says, good grief, how many are you affecting each phone call? He says, let me see, somebody, okay, I'll make a phone call, and before the day's out, the messages and the discipleship material, the mentoring concepts have been passed to about 20 million people.
What? 20 million people from one. That's amazing. Just by passing it along and by phone. Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Honey. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
20 million people this man is discipling. 20 million people.
Yeah, so if you feel like your congregation is small, you just have to imagine all the people that are behind the people you're discipling.
You don't know where this is all going to go.
It's amazing.
That's the entire LA basin of human beings mentored along by one man. So everybody thought, oh dear, Mr. Lee. They came around to this guy that I knew from Seattle who had a church of 3,000, and he said, now he's thinking, okay, for every person in my congregation, this man is mentoring 7,000. Every seat in my church stands for another 7,000 that he's responsible for. No church building, no ushers, no bylaws, no lighting, no smoke, no mirrors, No band where one guy's got a shaved head, and one guy's got tarantula hair, and one guy's got Tina Turner hair, and one lady's got a ponytail going this way. And
Drake. Let's just put it this way: Drake's not a huge fan of some of the cultural stuff. So, even though they might be amazing musicians,
this story was relayed to me by someone who was there. I couldn't breathe for a minute. I thought, God, you are doing it, man. God, you are kicking it. He mentors 20 million people from a cell phone. What are you doing with yours? Another thing that's happening in China right now, just this spring, a massive church. I mean, the size of First Baptist Church Dallas, or First Pres Seattle, or Tim Keller's church.
What kind of size are we talking about?
I mean, thousands of people
thousands.
In Manhattan. A church that size in China, the communists were just fed up with them because the pastor wasn't kissing the right ring, robe, boot, whatever.
Because there's a state-authorized church, and then there's everybody else.
Of the Communist Party.
Yeah.
So the bunch of heavy equipment dropped off, and they bulldozed the thing to the ground. I saw the footage the day after it happened.
Oh, my.
They bulldozed this thing.
Wow.
That's what's going on in China on the surface. Underneath, nobody knows how big the church is. It's very likely beyond 200 million people. And what's happening is Chinese people who have cell phones...
Pretty much everybody, I would
imagine. They have technology in Asia, folks.
Yeah, all you need is a flip phone. You don't even need a
I remember seeing
smartphone.
Someone on a cell phone, and she was the wife of a Major League Baseball player. I'll withhold the name. She's on a cell phone 25 years ago, and I thought, man, aren't you all that in a bag of chips?
Yeah.
She's talking on a little thing the size of a deck of cards. Whoa, you run the space shuttle too?
I bet it was a Nokia
People's cell phones
phone.
are everywhere. I mean, kids can run them really well. So Chinese people take their cell phones and they meander toward the North Korea line. You can cross the North Korea line, and I've got friends that have done it. They've gone from China into North Korea and done ministry and then come back in, because China and North Korea do talk, but they check you to make sure you're not taking any biblical stuff in. That's another story I'll tell you one day. Oh my goodness. The gospel's booming in North Korea. Booming. Kim Jong-il, that's part of what's making him crazy, because he's got this show of all his force and stuff, but the Christians are multiplying like rabbits or ants, or however you want to look at it. And so Chinese people will come near the North Korean line. If you get caught with a Bible in North Korea, you and your extended family goes to prison for life.
I bet you they're really good at memorizing scripture.
Oh, they got scripture memorized in Korean. And
yeah, if they were memorizing it in other languages, I'd be like overly impressed.
Yeah, so Chinese Christians are mentoring North Koreans, and they'll both be on each side of the fence, but they're far enough apart so they can't see each other. And these Chinese Christians, who they're doing a little better job at hiding and keeping and printing their Bibles, they will mentor North Koreans, and the North Korean and the communist government are watching. Oh, we've got to, and they listen in the conversation. Oh, they're talking Bible stuff. Find these two people, and that's not done within seconds. It takes a little bit of time to locate and do the electronic. I don't know how they do this. And they go, there's a discipleship, the Christian conversation going on right there. Go and catch them both and arrest the guy in North Korea for sure. But they've got a little time. So they make these phone calls, and they talk for just I've got to make this number up because I don't know it. Let's say they can track them within 7 minutes. They'll have 6-minute conversations. Now, you might think, oh, great, I wish my pastor would just talk 6 minutes. Well, they have these 6-minute conversations, and at 6 minutes, they go, oh, we got to stop. I'm getting tracked here. They'll hang up. they'll both switch locations and then dial again and have another 6-minute conversation. They'll hang up, move to a new place, and start another. This is what's going on. My friend Peter was at a huge festival in China in 2004. He's retired now, but I did catch up with him a couple years ago. And he says, oh, yeah, that event was real. What happened was this huge gathering. It was prior to the Olympics of 2008 Beijing. And they gathered in this massive stadium. And the final speaker, he said, folks, the gospel left Jerusalem and it went east, but the main force of it went west. And the gospel has gotten into Europe, and the gospel got over to the west end of Europe, and the gospel went south into Africa. The gospel jumped the Pacific in the 1600s and went to America, and America has really gone big league with the gospel and their missionary endeavors and all that, and Bible publishing. They took it across, and the gospel reached China when Hudson Taylor, I told you about him a couple days ago, got here. And it's kind of gotten stopped, and the government's fighting it. He says, but we're going to outnumber them, we're going to outthink them, we're going to outpray them, we're going to outperform them, and we're going to take the gospel the rest of the way and get all the way back to Jerusalem. And it was such a rousing speech that he got to the end. He says, and back, there's a movement called Back to Jerusalem. They're going to get the gospel the rest of the way across Asia, back in Jerusalem. And in there is the Muslim world. And I've told you that 20 of the fastest growing churches in the world, 11 of them are in Muslim countries. So it's happening. But this meeting, this resolve that happened in 2004, my friend Peter, he was there. He says it was pure rhapsody. And the screaming was way beyond the screaming and the praise and the noise that you would hear when a touchdown is scored with 9 seconds left in the game and it's 4th and 4 on the 30-yard line or whatever. You can take all or some soccer goal cheering. This cheering was way beyond that. And they're doing it. This is what's happening. And I just give you the little vignette of Chinese people mentoring North Koreans. It's good. I don't know if you're hearing about some of the news since this virus happened. The orchestrating of this is, oh my goodness. What has happened with the virus and churches being compulsorily shut by the government? Abortion clinics are open, bars are open, liquor stores are open, pot dispensaries are open. But we've got to shut the churches because they're not safe. Anytime the government uses the word safe or equality, be careful because their definition of safety is not yours. Their definition of equality is not yours. Their definition of fairness is not yours. God's definition of these things is much more credible. Anyhow, the churches are shut all over the country, and pastors think, how do I speak to my people? And I have mentioned this spring. Churches are going online. The prominent ones have been doing it for a long time, but everybody's going online, and the gospel is going to way many places. Church attendance, even though it's visiting and they're watching on their phone, church attendance in Britain is up 12 times over what it's been. 12 times as many. Can you imagine every church in America having 12 times bigger congregation over a 1 month span? Well, that's what's happening in Britain. I know pastors, they used to talk to 200, now they're talking to 2,000. Other pastors are talking to 1,000, now they're talking to 35,000 every weekend. It's exploding. This is what's going to get the gospel to the end. And my wife reminds me that our ministry is called Divine Sign Telecoms. If you'd like to help us along in this thing, you're invited to do that and make a check out to Divine Sign Telecoms. I don't know if I'm saying this right or in the right way, but Divine Sign, Telecoms, because the gospel is booming across the earth by technology, and God's been planning this thing all along. We made computers starting in the 50s. Well, God's been making a computer since Adam. And just, it's amazing. But the technology that's taken the gospel to the ends of the earth is really something. You might think, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to ask God? God, what do I do? I had a friend, Mario, 10, 20, 30 years ago. He's walking me through his massive complex near Manhattan. And he says, it was a day off, but he gave me the tour of his company office. Is this lady right here? She is so suffering right now. She just found out she needs to go on dialysis. She's scared to death. I've got to get her a Bible. She doesn't know the Lord. I'm going to do that. This guy over here, middle of a nasty divorce. He is so disturbed. He can't even function. Brilliant man. He says, I've got to explain the gospel to him. I'm going to do that this month. This lady over here, her junior hire, just got diagnosed in that. She is so scared and has such anguish. I've got to be sure, and he told me his agenda for everybody in his office. I've got to get the gospel to these people. What's your agenda? God has a plan. What's ours? Ours need to match his. I was driving. I love sharing the gospel. And as Jim told you yesterday, I talk to everybody.
Which was confirmed by many.
Yeah, other people gave comments
Sally
on
Price
the podcast
and
yesterday.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he talks to everybody. I do.
Yeah.
I just like people.
Yeah.
And so I was driving a truck 20 years ago, 18, 19 years ago, and I go by I'm kind of ahead of myself, and if you arrive too early, you're just waiting in line. So I thought I need to stall for about a half an hour, and I saw a skate park. I don't remember where I was, because when you're driving, I was all over the 11 western states, but I forget where the skate park was. Seems like it was in Nevada. So I stopped and I thought, man, look at these guys. Some of these skaters, I thought, dude, you should be on YouTube, man. And anyhow, I thought, these kids, they look talented, but they looked kind of aimless. I bet a lot of them had parents in distress. I stopped and looked at them and I said, God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I froze, and I waited for a little bit of a quiet moment, and I went, skateboarders rule the world!
That was so loud.
I'm sorry about that.
All right, I'm taking the headphones off.
So I said it through the whole skate park. All these guys kind of freeze, and they look at this 39, 40-year-old man, and they went, what's he doing here? I'll cut to the chase. Nobody was skating 15 minutes later. They'd made a big half circle, and I was explaining the gospel to all these skateboarders. How'd you do that? What was your 7-point strategy for the 4 laws of this and that? Did you explain the gospel? Did you use Romans Road? Did you... Theories, guys. Do what God says. I was on a summer internship in 1983 in Bangkok, Thailand, and I'll try to end with this. And I got dropped off, and he says, okay, just go on the campus today in Bangkok, Thailand here, and just share the gospel and just have an open day, and just the Lord is with you. And 225,000 students, the largest university in the world. I was dropped off in this mobulation of a mob.
Mobulation.
and
That's funny.
I thought, wow, these people didn't speak. These people don't even speak English. What am I supposed to do? And I kind of locked up. I thought,
did you pray?
what? Yeah, I'm really evangelical. I'm really an outreach. I just froze. And I thought, God, I don't know what to do here. I tell you what, God, if you're going to have me talk to someone, you bring them to me, okay? I've said amen. And in less than 3 seconds, someone taps me on the shoulder and says, I am very interested in religion. Can you explain about Jesus to me? And I said, God, not so fast.
Gotcha.
10 minutes later, I'm in a half circle in kind of a thing with a barbecue pit in the middle and the steps, and it's a half circle of these rows, I'm explaining the gospel to 40 people. They asked me to do this in Thailand. You want to hear some good news about Minneapolis? You've heard some bad news out of Minneapolis and the riots and stuff. I just saw something on the web this morning. I got hints of it 2 days ago. There is a bona fide, full-scale, high-speed revival going on in Minneapolis right now, where this incident, where this image when it's gone all over the world, in Minneapolis right now, in that whole town square, people, they've set up these big old horse watering trough, because they're baptizing people. They have set up stage after stage. They're worshiping, they're singing, they're praying. Those who want to come to Christ here, those who want to, you should see footage. It's on YouTube. I saw it this morning. Look up revival in Minneapolis.
Well, we can add that like at some point. As you want to comment on.
We'll do that and insert that in here. I am over time. Guys, the good news is everywhere. Another 100,000, 200,000, maybe 400,000 are getting saved today. You're on the winning team. Proceed with that, with confidence, with joy, and all boldness. And as God told Joshua, you be strong. You be strong. Be very strong in the Lord. Be sheepish about nothing. The Lord God is with you. Let's live like it.